Okay, guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, fasten your seatbelts. Here we go. All right, guys, I'm back, and I see you are as well. I hope everyone is doing well this evening. It is Friday, March 27th, and it's 10:12 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, well, what we're going to do is we're going to hit on the news tonight, so we're going to go there right now. I do have some people to thank, but I will wait till the end of the show for that. Oh, hello. Well, look, poor Xander's trying to get up on the back of the chair, and I've got the window open slightly, so poor Xander's probably trying to get up there. He's not doing too well, but he's full of pain medication, so he's probably doing better than if he didn't have the pain medicine. But anyway, thank you guys, all of you guys that have donated via coffee and said, you know, this is for Xander. Thank you so much. It touches me that strangers, and I know that you probably don't feel like you're a stranger because you're used to, oh, don't get up there. I'm sorry. But this is a rare opportunity to see my cat. Anyway, well, the back of him anyway. That's its better half. No, actually it's not. That's the half that's sick. This leg right here, the femoral bone, is actually, the top of it is gone. And I am begging. I actually was at the vet, which is a long way out of town, but I went there today again to beg that they would do something, because with this shutdown and all, you know, that's happening with that, they have been told that they are not to do any surgeries that, unless the animal is in imminent danger of dying, they are not to do surgery. So I just, again, pleaded with them, because poor Xander, I don't know if you've ever had to watch an animal in pain, but it is the most tormenting thing I can possibly imagine. I can't stand to see an animal or a child in pain. All right, well, let's continue on here. And I hope everything is going well where you are. I would really appreciate it, because there are so many people that listen to this channel. If you know anybody that has this virus, put it in the comments below, because we are a group of however many, and you know, we're all over the place. So if you know of anyone, let me know. I am hearing from medical people that this is very real, and there are many people in hospital suffering with it. So I do believe it's a real virus. I just am hoping that the cure isn't worse than the problem. So anyway, here I'm in Canada right now. I am hoping to return to the States, but my mother is elderly, so I came home. But yeah, so right here, I had to go out today. I went to the vet, I had to go to the bank, and I had to go to the post office to pick up a prescription. Well, I could not believe how long those few things took me. Usually I can just snap that off very quickly, except for the trip to the vet because it's out of town. But it took me 2 hours, even after my prescription was done, to pick it up, because they'd only let a few people in. The lineup was forever. And no, honey, you need to stay quiet and not be trying to jump up there. Anyway, yeah, it took forever. They had one person working, and they were slower than a snail. I think really if they had gone any slower, they would have been backing up. And so it took forever. And then I went to the bank. They questioned me about where I'd been and everything. And again, only one person was allowed in the bank to do their banking, which had to be done a very safe distance. And they'd let the next person in. So you can imagine how long everything's taking. So, you know, these things that would normally just take me a few minutes took hours and hours. And yeah, anyway, that's my story, and I'm sure you guys have horror stories too. So if you do, I mean, it's not really a horror story. I understand why it's being done, but here they've actually mandated it by law. And while I was in the bank, I got 3 messages on my phone from the government, and saying, make sure you're at home, make sure you're, quarantining. And if you've traveled, it is the law. You have to self-quarantine. So anyway, that was my day. So if you guys have stories of your own, please let me know in the comments below, because we're all interested. It's not just for me, but everybody else that reads the comments, because they can see very easily what is happening in other parts of the country then. So I thought that was a good idea. And if any of you feel like you want to share, then please do. All right. I was boiling up. I opened the window just this much, and now I'm freezing. But I'd rather be too cold than too hot. Not that, that has anything to do with anything. Let's jump in here. I've blabbered long enough. I could talk the hind leg right off a mule. No, really, I could. All right. Come on now. There we go. Let's look at this ridiculousness. New York Times blames evangelical Christians for coronavirus. That's right. It's our fault. It's always our fault. Yeah, pretty much everyone in the world blames Christians for something or other. The New York Times published an op-ed Friday that blamed evangelical Christians for the coronavirus pandemic. Okay, the argument by journalist and author Catherine Stewart is that because religious voters supported Trump, that means he governs without regard for science. Okay. Yeah, I see the connection. Wait a minute. No, I don't. So, Stewart also claims that Republicans, more than Democrats, are likely to deny science. In her op-ed titled "The Road to Coronavirus Hell Was Paved by Evangelicals," she writes, Donald Trump rose to power with the determined assistance of a movement that denies science, bashes government, and prioritized loyalty over professional expertise. In the current crisis, we are all reaping what that movement has sown, at least since the 19th century, when the pro-slavery theologian Robert Louis Dabney attacked the physical scientists as theories of unbelief. Hostility to science has characterized the more extreme forms of religious nationalism in the United States. Well, I don't know about that. I think there are a lot of extremely intelligent Christians out there, very intelligent Christians out there. So I find that highly insulting personally, and I bet you do too. So whether or not you're a Christian, imagine if this was written about the Muslims, who are far more primitive than the Christians. Would you not? I mean, there would be a public outcry, but because it's Christians, nobody cares. She then goes on to provide several quotes from pastors who push back against the idea of closing their churches. Stewart admits, by all accounts, President Trump's tendency to trust his gut over the expertise on issues like vaccines and climate change does not come from any deep-seated religious conviction. But she adds, excuse me, I'm starting to cough more and more, and I just hope that I haven't picked up anything. It's very active in this area. All right. So she goes on to provide, okay, we read that, but she adds, but he is perfectly in tune with the religious nationalists who form the core of his base. Why? They say nationalist as if it's a really dirty word, and religious nationalist, oh, everybody should be terrified at that word. It's absolutely ridiculous. A patriot who loves their country, who wants to see their elected president do well. Excuse me. I will pause this. I'm going to pause it and get rid of this tickle, and I'll be back, because I don't want to listen to this. I'm sure you don't either. All right, let me pause. Okay, hopefully I'm over that. So let's go back now. Usually it passes if I just push through. So, oh, wait a minute, we weren't finished with this. Yeah, so it says, I think that's it. No, since the start of the coronavirus crisis, Trump has repeatedly deferred to scientists, doctors, and experts in the administration, particularly Dr. Anthony Fauci and Dr. Debbie Birx, who feature in his daily press briefings. Notably, scientists have confirmed that President Trump's travel bans on China and Europe slowed and limited the spread of the disease in the United States. In Fauci's case, he specifically urged the travel ban be imposed on Europe. All of the Democrat candidates for president opposed those bans. Former Vice President Joe Biden called the China ban hysterical and xenophobic and panned the Europe ban after Trump announced it. And the thing is, sometimes Trump does go with his gut, but the thing is that so far his gut has been right. So I don't know. I find this very offensive that they're blaming this on Christians. And why? Because it's the Christians that voted for Trump. Not just Christians voted for Trump. My gosh, yes, they're a huge voting bloc, but not that huge. Anyway, let's go back now and see what other trouble we can get into, because I'm sure we can find some. And let's look at this. I have long suspected this, as have many others. Stacks full of urns in China's Wuhan prompt new questions of CV toll. And I do not believe that we're even this much close to the numbers of people that died in China. I think that they have covered that up. And now they're trying to act like the humanitarians in giving testing and so forth to other countries that don't work, by the way. They're very, very unreliable. So, yeah, they're trying to come out looking like the good guys when really what they did to their own people is inexcusable. Really inexcusable. Now, part of it couldn't be helped because everything was overrun. The hospitals were overrun and so forth. But the way that they were locking people into their homes and shooting people on the streets, not good. All right, Wuhan, the long lines and stacks of ash urns greeting family members of the dead at funeral homes in Wuhan City are spurring questions about the true scale of CV casualties at the epicenter of the outbreak, renewing pressure on a Chinese government struggling to control its containment narrative. The families of those who succumbed to the virus in the central Chinese city, where the disease first emerged in December, actually it was before then, but, who are we to split hairs? Were allowed to pick up their cremated ashes at 8 local funeral homes starting this week. As they did, photos circulated on Chinese social media of thousands of urns being ferried in. Outside one funeral home, trucks shipped in about 2,500 urns on both Wednesday, March 25th, and Thursday, according to the Chinese media outlet Caixin. Another picture published by Caixin showed 3,500 urns stacked on the ground inside. It's unclear how many of the urns had been filled. People who answered the phone at 6 of the 8 funeral homes in Wuhan said they either did not have data on how many urns were waiting to be collected or were not authorized to disclose the numbers. Calls were not answered at the other 2. Some families said they had been forced to wait for several hours to pick up the ashes. The photos circulated as mass deaths from the virus spiked in cities across the West, including Milan, Madrid, and New York, where hospitals were erecting tents to handle the overflow as global infections soar past 500,000, with 24,000 dead. Now, if you really believe that there are only 24,000 dead, I've got some property to sell you that's right in the middle of the ocean. Yeah. So, according to Chinese government figures, 2,535 people in Wuhan have died of the virus. Right. The announcement that a lockdown in place since January would be lifted came after China said its tally of new cases had hit 0. Sure it has. They've stopped testing. And stepped up diplomatic outreach to other countries hard hit by the virus, sending some of them medical supplies. But some in China have been skeptical of the accuracy of the official tally, particularly given Wuhan's overwhelmed medical system, the authorities' attempts to cover up the outbreak in its initial stages, and multiple revisions to the way official cases are counted. Residents on social media have demanded disciplinary action against top Wuhan officials. Many people who died had COVID-19 symptoms but weren't tested and excluded from the official case tally, Cakeson said. There were also patients who died of other diseases due to lack of proper treatment when hospitals were overwhelmed dealing with those who had the virus. There were 56,007 cremations in Wuhan in the fourth quarter of 2019, according to data from the City Civil Affairs Agency. The number of cremations was 1,583 times higher than those in the fourth quarter of 2018, and get this, 2,231 times higher than the fourth quarter of 2017. Interesting. The families of the dead may not be able to say a proper goodbye to their loved ones just yet. Wuhan's government issued a statement on Thursday prohibiting individuals from the city tomb sweeping activities until April 30th, meaning they would not be able to observe the traditional April 4th King Ming Festival or tomb sweeping holiday. Other provinces, including Guangxi and Xizang, have announced similar restrictions. Two locals in Wuhan who have lost family members to the virus said online that they were informed they had to be accompanied by their employers or officials from neighborhood committees when picking up the urns, likely as a measure against public gatherings. I was told by district government to wait until further notice on when I can pick up my father's ashes, one Wuhan resident using the name Su Zhe Xiao Zong, meaning snow in hand, posted on Weibo. There is a staggered arrangement for urn collecting. Imagine that there's so many urns that they have to stagger the collection of the urns. Another Weibo user using the handle Dagger said she lost her husband to the CV and has since been contacted by police warning her not to be too emotional and to stop posting online. I have only one demand, she wrote. I want to give my husband a proper burial as soon as possible. I think that is understandable. I think most of us, if one of our loved ones dies, we want them to have a proper burial. My gosh, even when I had two 22-year-old cats die in very quick succession. Now, I had to have them put down. They were both very sick. Obviously at that age, they weren't going to recover. So I had them put down, but I had them cremated and I have their urns. I mean, to me, a proper burial is what you do for those you love, be it a pet or what have you, or a husband. I mean, obviously it's more important for a husband or a loved one. But yeah, that is very interesting. And it just adds to the growing list of concerns that people have that they are not and were never honest about the numbers, and they're not being now honest about the numbers. And the thing is, all these people that were self-quarantined at home, a lot of them died in their homes, but they weren't counted. They weren't counted because they weren't tested. And people that died of pneumonia there, they said, oh, well, they died of pneumonia, not CV, but really they weren't tested. So, obviously the virus causes pneumonia. But they didn't bother to check those people, and they didn't add it to the official list. So I don't know how many other places in the world have played these little games. Probably many, but definitely China. All right, let's go on now because we can. And my gosh, there is cold air coming in, and it was fairly warm today, like almost 50, which is good for here. All right, let's look at this. And this isn't all about the virus, so relax, people. I know some of you are like, oh, is she talking about that again? Yes, because it's news, but there's other things in there as well. All right, Brussels Hospital does CT scan at entrance for all. 10% of asymptomatic have COVID-19. Now that should concern just about everyone, because that means that if this hospital is any indication, that 10% of people are asymptomatic, and they may be coming in with, something else but really they are positive for CV. Brussels University Hospital is doing a lung CAT scan on all who enter, irrelevant of their complaints, as a way to protect hospital staff. After the first 50 tests, they found 5 suspected scans among asymptomatic patients. COVID tests all came back positive. Virologist says that this might be representative for entire population, with perhaps 10% asymptomatic but infected. And that means just because you're not having symptoms doesn't mean that you're not spreading it to everyone around you. So that's not good. It says, edit, test all is a reference to non-COVID patients, cancer, pregnancies, broken leg, not nurses, doctors, or visitors. All visitors have been banned for 2 weeks already. They were using CAT scans for 2 weeks already on COVID patients, but because they now have excess CAT scan capacity, no essential surgery taking place. They expanded this. All right. Some more info from different newspaper. Tested people were women giving birth and brain tumor surgery and other non-related operations. 2 pregnant women had tested positive before giving birth using the CAT scan. These women did not know they were sick. The radiologists are now very familiar with the telltale white spots in the lungs. They believe the initial white spots are due to the defensive mechanism of the body and normally go away after a few days. In some cases, however, they become much worse. They are working on AI techniques to more accurately diagnose these scans and the severity of the disease. Okay, and let's go back and okay, I'm going to play this for you. It's kind of one of those, well, it's humorous. You can't stop it from being humorous. And we all need a laugh, don't we? I know I do. All right, now, the Dem frontrunner for President of the United States of America. Let that sink in. Okay, let's make this bigger because we can, and let's listen. Take this back to the very beginning. Here we go. Are you ready? You were born ready. I know it.
It's said in here, your character is revealed.
I'm gonna wrap this chain around your head.
But it's in life where your character is formed.
Poor kids are just as bright as white kids.
What you've overcome.
I'm like the token black and the token
How
woman.
you step up when the moment demands.
You know the thing.
What you do when the cameras are off.
See, I went to the big guys for the money.
Where you've led. What you've done.
Killed thousands of people.
What you'll never stop working to do.
To prostitute myself.
Who you stand with.
Big money donors.
And who you fight for.
Biden spoke at a private fundraiser and told the big donors that under his presidency, no one's standard of living will change. Nothing will fundamentally change.
Character matters.
Lying dog-faced pony soldier.
Maybe more here than anywhere.
You got the right candidate in Bernie. I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message. Make sure you have the record player on at night. Have the record player on at night. Anyway, my time's up. It's my little sister, Valerie, and I'm Jill's husband. Oh, no, you switched on me. This is my wife. This is my sister. They switched on me. My name's Joe Biden. I got hairy legs, and I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate.
Your candidate might be better on, health care than Joe is. But you've got to swallow a little bit.
This is my wife.
Wow. Yeah. Whoever did that did a darn good job. That's all I'm going to say. So, and that can be found from Cherokee Owl on Twitter. All right. You're a lion, dog-faced pony soldier. That's my favorite because I have no idea what it means, but you're a lion, dog-faced pony soldier. Yeah. Now, that's one of my favorite insults. If it is an insult, who knows? Well, the lying part is an insult, but dog-faced pony soldier, I don't know. What's a pony soldier? And a lying dog-faced pony soldier, is that a bad thing? I don't know. All right. Let's go back now because that's what we're going to do. All right. And if you haven't heard this, Boris Johnson has tested positive for CV. Not a good situation. It'll be interesting to see how that progresses or not progresses. And I don't know, and I'm just throwing this in there. I don't have anything here on it, but I'm just remembering this. Today I saw several pictures of Justine, and he was doing now he is quarantined at home. He's working from home, supposedly, and he's doing his press conferences. He steps out and they are back at a distance. Well, I saw several pictures today and I noticed something under his pants. No, not there. Get your mind out of the gutter. His lower leg pants. Kind of like a square thing attached to his leg. Things that make you go, could it be? I think it might be. All right, let's go on. Virginia pastor dies from CV after previously saying media is pumping out fear about pandemic. Now, let me just say this. Yes, I think the media is hyping this. I think that there are several very suspicious things going on, like governors saying that doctors and hospitals cannot use hydrochloroquine. That is unforgivable, really, because if you were dying and there was a drug that even anecdotally had been used and other people had recovered after taking it, wouldn't you be absolutely irate? Although you'd probably at that point be too sick to be irate, but you would want that drug to be tried on you. I would. In fact, I've taken that drug. I took it when I was teaching in the rainforest in Central America, off the coast of Honduras, right there near Nicaragua, the border of Nicaragua. It's called the Mosquito Coast. And I took that. I didn't have any bad reactions to it, and I didn't get malaria, even though I was in the jungle. So that's always a good thing. So anyway, China shuts down all cinemas again. Probably a good idea. I think that is a very good idea during these times because, I mean, everything here is shut down. I mean, everything. You can't, I mean, the dentists are even shut down. So everything, the vets, just about everything. So anyway, let's go on now. Here's another cruise ship. Now, you would think that people would have clued into the cruise ships and said, you know what? I don't think that that's such a good idea. But no, 4 passengers die on cruise ship with CV outbreak off Panama. Not a good thing. This is Panama City. 4 passengers have died on board the MS Zandam cruise ship, currently off the coast of Panama, with dozens of guests suffering from influenza-like symptoms, at least 2 of whom have CV, the vessel's operator said on Friday, March 27th. Holland America Line can confirm that 4 older guests have passed away on Zandam, the cruise line said in a statement. Why the heck haven't they shut down their cruises? That's what I would like to know, really. I mean, I know there are always people stupid enough to get on them, but, you know, and I mean that. At this point, I think these people are stupid. Really. I mean, okay, when it was first starting and you didn't know, I mean, not very many people were infected and, you know, you didn't know how big this thing was. But now it seems like I think the virus just kind of makes a beeline for any cruise ship that they see on the ocean. That's what I think. I think it's just kind of like floating out there and it sees a cruise ship. It's kind of like when there's a tornado, they always look for mobile home parks. They do. I mean, they'll take a right hook and switch just to get to a mobile home park. And I think the virus may be doing that as well. I think that they may be seeking out these cruise ships because that's the way it seems. Anyway, yesterday, a number of patients with respiratory systems were tested for COVID-19 and 2 tested positive. The Zandam, with 1,800 passengers on board, is currently in Panama's territorial water, having been prevented from docking in several countries due to CV fears. You can't blame these countries, really. I mean, you've got a floating virus ship. Oh yeah, sure, everybody come off. Come on in. Infect our country. The Zandam liner left Buenos Aires on March 7th and was supposed to arrive last Saturday at San Antonio near Santiago in Chile. Since a brief stop in Punta Arenas in Chile and Patagonia on March 14th, it was turned away from several ports after reporting that 42 people aboard were suffering from flu-like symptoms. Just say no to cruises right now. Really, it's in your best interest. It's in everybody's best interest, okay? This will pass, and then you can go on as many cruises as you want. You can just cruise yourself to death if you want, but not now. It's not wise. And then America has to expend resources to come and save your sorry butt. I'm sorry, your sorry hinder parts. Well, butt's not bad, but I could have said something else, but I didn't. All right, so anyway, since a brief stop in Punta Arenas in Chile and Patagonia on March 14th, it turned away, blah, 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 it is trying to head for Florida. Well, aren't all the virus ships trying to head to Florida? I don't know. But to get there, it must pass through the Panama Canal. On Friday, authorities denied the ship access to the waterway. Now, I think that's a little bit much because going through the waterway is not going to infect anybody. Come on. But yeah, I wouldn't want to be on a cruise ship for all the money in the world, really. And I know people say, oh, well, it's not that bad. These people are quarantined on a ship. Yeah, they're quarantined on a virus boat and they're just sitting ducks for this virus, which can get into the ventilation system and get carried all over the ship. So the longer these people are on that ship, the more likely it is they get infected. And who are the people with the most money to travel? Older adults. Those are the people with the most disposable income to go and travel. And so a lot of the people on these ships are older. So yeah, not a good thing. Since so anyway, it's trying to head to Florida. Holland America sent another cruise liner, the Rotterdam, carrying COVID-19 test kits, supplies, and relief staff to meet the Zandam in Panamanian waters. The company said that 53 of the 1,243 guests and 85 of the 586 crew on board the Zandam have reported to the ship's medical center with influenza-like symptoms. It plans to transfer those passengers that have not been exposed to someone who had been, It plans to transfer those passengers that have not been ill or exposed to someone who has been to the Rotterdam while leaving ill passengers and all crew on board the Zandam. But how do they know? I mean, unless they test these people to make sure that they don't have COVID-19, then are they sure that they're not infected? Because you can be asymptomatic for a very long time. While the onward plan for both ships is still being finalized, we continue to work with the Panamanian authorities on approval to transit the Panama Canal for sailing to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, said Holland America. And what do they plan on doing there? Letting everybody off? I don't know. On Wednesday, Panama's health minister, Rosario Turner, said that the Zandam would be allowed to pass through the canal. Okay. But on Friday morning, Panama's Seaway Administrator, Ricarte Vasquez, said the health ministry had denied access to the liner. So these, continually we're seeing stories of people stranded at sea on these cruise ships. Why are people still taking cruises? It's a very simple thing. And then what? American money has to be expended to get their sorry butts home. It's not right. Stay at home. Stay at home. You can when this is over, you can travel all you want freely, hopefully. With no risk. Well, there's always risk to everything, but you know what I mean. Hopefully, we'll be able to travel freely when this is all over. Who knows? Okay, let's go back. And, let's look at this. Because we can, and we are. We will. We are. All right, coronavirus. U.S. Pentagon eyes Chicago, Michigan, Florida, Louisiana as bug spreads. Let's look at this. Washington, the U.S. military is watching CV infection trends in Chicago, Michigan, Florida, and Louisiana with concern as it weighs where else it may have to deploy after boosting aid to New York, California, and Washington, a top general said on Friday, March 27th. Air Force General John Hyten, vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said the military was doing its own analysis as well as looking at data on infections compiled elsewhere in the government. There's a certain number of places where we have concerns, and they're Chicago, Michigan, Florida, Louisiana. Hyten told the group of reporters when asked where field hospitals could head next. Those are the areas that we're looking and trying to figure out where to go next. Confirmed coronavirus cases in the United States reached 100,040 on Friday, the highest number in the world. A Reuters tally showed, while we're also one of the biggest countries in the world. So there you go. And we have a massive population. The Army Corps of Engineers said on Friday it was aiming to provide faculties for 3,000 people with CV at Chicago's McCormick Place Convention Center by April 24th for about US $75 million. Lieutenant General Todd Semonite, the Corps commander, said the Corps was looking at potentially converting 114 facilities in the United States into hospitals. Asked about Hyten's remark, Semonite said he continued to be concerned about Michigan, Florida, and Louisiana, and had spoken with the governor of Louisiana. He said that there could be high demand for medical resources in Florida because of the aging population. Strains on military. The military is already deploying field hospitals to Seattle and New York. A Navy hospital ship arrived on Friday in Los Angeles, and another one is expected to reach New York City on Monday, where Hyten said the city was still dredging the harbor to allow the massive ship to dock. Each ship has a capacity of about 1,000 beds and would not treat CV patients, instead taking pressure off overwhelmed civilian hospitals. But Hyten cautioned that the U.S. military only had limited medical capacity in the United States, and at some point it would have to tap the reserve forces while guarding against drawing medical staff away from civilian facilities. President Donald Trump on Friday signed an executive order authorizing the Pentagon and Department of Homeland Security to call up reservists. We made a decision about 5 or 6 years ago that we would downsize our military healthcare capacities in the capabilities in the United States to only really focus on deployed requirements, Hyten said. He estimated that the military only had 1,329 adult hospital beds staffed at any one time in the United States. We're digging into the active duty force really heavily, he said. So the next thing we're going to need is to look into the reserves. So yeah, and don't get me wrong. I know the virus is real and it is a real enemy, but there is other things going on, and I have no doubt that there are ongoing arrests happening. All of these tanks moving into places like Los Angeles and Chicago, and I don't know where else they've been seen. But if you have seen them where you are, could you let us know in the comments below? Because we're all in this together. We all want to know. We all need to know. And I think in those places, they're rounding up those people that, have indictments. That's what I believe. I firmly believe that. I think that that's where the evidence points. But that doesn't mean this is all a hoax and that there aren't lots of people dying, because there are. Some areas will be hit harder than others. Some towns may escape completely unscathed. It's possible. So I don't know. None of us know at this point. But I'm hoping that when a drug is found, and it will be very soon. I think it's already been found. It's a drug that, has been around for many, many, many years. So I think that once that's employed, I think the numbers are going to go way, way, way down, because once someone tests positive, if they could get them on a round of that, they're giving hydrochloroquine and Z-Pax, which is an antibiotic, and zinc. That is the 3 drugs that zinc isn't a drug, it's a vitamin. But yeah, and they're having success with that. Now, I've been taking all sorts of antiviral herbs and zinc and large doses of vitamin C. So because I do have a compromised immune system, so it's important to me, and I have very elderly parents, so it's extremely important to me, and I'm trying to do everything I can to stay virus free. Okay, and I'm sure you are as well, hopefully. All right, now let's look at this. Because this is big news and important news, especially to those Americans that are out of work right now because of this crisis, and that are in desperate need. There's rent coming due. There's, people have needs. They need food. It doesn't matter the virus, whether there's a virus or not. People still need to eat. They need gas in their car. They need, and they need money. Come on, what is taking so long here? It says Word is not responding. Well, that should surprise me. Not. Okay, here we go. Now. Come on. No, it's not going to go to that website. Again, it's saying Word not responding. So we'll just wait. What can we talk about? I don't know. Do I have any jokes? I have so many jokes, but they're all bad jokes. Like, not dirty jokes or anything like that. They're bad. They're bad jokes. That's what I'm good at. Bad jokes. Okay, here we go. Coronavirus. Historic $3.1 trillion aid package passes U.S. House and becomes law. So that was today. This is good news for so many people. I'm sure you've probably already heard this news, but I wanted to make sure everyone knew, because I know some of you are probably suffering during this. The U.S. House of Representatives on a Friday, March 27th, approved a U.S. $2.2 trillion 3.1 trillion aid package, the largest in history, to help cope with economic downturn inflicted by the intensifying CV pandemic, and President Donald Trump quickly signed it into law. The massive bill passed the Senate and House of Representatives nearly unanimously. The rare bipartisan section underscored how seriously Republican and Democratic lawmakers are taking the global pandemic as Americans suffer and the medical system threatens to buckle. Our nation faces an economic and health emergency of historic proportions due to the CV pandemic. The worst in over 100 years, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said, like she cares. Yeah, right. I'm sorry. I'm getting to like this woman less and less, and I didn't like her at all. So you can imagine. I don't wish harm to any person. I just want her to go away. All right. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said at the close of a 3-hour debate before the lower chamber approved the bill, "Whatever we do next, right now, we're going to pass this legislation. The massive bill also rushes billions of dollars to medical providers on the front lines of the outbreak." Democrats and Republicans in the Democratic-led House approved the package on a voice vote, turning back a procedural challenge from Republican Representative Tommy Massey, who had sought to force a formal recorded vote. Massey, an independent-minded Republican who had repeatedly defied party leaders, wrote on Twitter that he thought the bill contained too much extraneous spending and gave too much power to the Federal Reserve. His fellow lawmakers overruled his request. On Twitter, Trump called Massey a third-rate grandstander and said he should be thrown out of the Republican Party. He just wants the publicity, wrote Trump, who last week began pushing for urgent action on coronavirus after long downplaying the risk. Democrat and Republican leaders asked members to return to Washington to ensure there would be enough present to head off Massey's gambit. Lawmakers from as far away as California were present for the debate. The session was held under special rules to limit the spread of the disease among members who used hand sanitizer and, in at least one case, wore protective gloves. At least 3 members of Congress have tested positive for the CV, and more than 24 have self-quarantined to limit its spread. The Senate, which approved the bill in a unanimous vote on Wednesday evening, has adjourned and is not scheduled to return to Washington until late April. Older people have proven especially vulnerable to COVID-19, the disease caused by CV. The average age of House members was 58 at the beginning of 2019, well above the average age of 38 for the U.S. population as a whole. Now, that number is misleading. It's misleading. From a lot of things that I have read, yes, of course, older people are going to be more vulnerable, but there's a lot of younger people getting it as well. By younger, I mean 20s, 30s, 40s. Obviously more in their 30s, 40s, 50s, but yeah. Democrat and Republican leaders appeared together at a news conference to celebrate the bill's passage, an unusual event for a chamber that is normally sharply divided along partisan lines. The virus is here. We did not ask for it. We didn't invite it. We didn't choose it. But with the passing of the bill, you will see that we will fight it together and we will win together, said Kevin McCarthy, the top House Republican. The rescue package, he did not say whether Massey would face any disciplinary measures from the party. The rescue package is the largest fiscal relief measure ever by Congress. The U.S. $2.2 trillion measure includes U.S. $500 billion to help hard-hit industries and U.S. $290 billion for payments of up to U.S. $3,000 to millions of families. It also provides U.S. $350 billion for small business loans, U.S. $250 billion for expanded unemployment aid, and at least U.S. $100 billion for hospitals and related healthcare systems. The rare but deep bipartisan support in Congress underscored how seriously lawmakers are taking the global pandemic as Americans suffer and the medical system threatens to buckle. On Friday, the number of CV cases in the United States surpassed China and Italy at over 100,000, according to Reuters tally. The death toll has exceeded 1,300 by Thursday. Adding to the misery, the Labor Department reported the number of Americans filing claims for unemployment benefits surged to 3.28 million, the highest level ever. So, and it's, I know that, at least I think, when you go to file for unemployment, you've got a 2-week waiting period too. So, and a lot of these people live hand to mouth, so they can't wait. They can't go 2 weeks without any income at all. They have families, they have a mortgage to pay or rent to pay, what have you. We all have responsibilities. So there you go. And yeah, I think that is very misleading, saying that the States has more than China, because China has been notoriously underreporting and mistruthful. All right, let's go back now because there's more. Of course there is. All right, now I'll try to pick this up a little. Yeah, it's interesting. Somebody put this, they brought it to my attention, and this was on a video, and I just clipped it out, but I didn't get the name of who did the video, but this was interesting. It says the CV pandemic was simulated October 2019. Now we know that by mega rich control freaks, Bill Gates, George Soros, plus cronies. Now it's for real. The aim is a world population cull. People cause a CO2 problem, is what they're saying, by their mass. And how they're going to, react to this is by their mass V plan. I'm not saying that word because it's heavily censored, containing poison. And it says, Fauci, no doubt Trump, we talked about this before, no doubt Trump will face surprise infectious disease outbreak. How did he know? I don't trust that man at all. Anthony S. Fauci, MD, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, said there's no doubt Donald J. Trump will face a surprise infectious disease outbreak. Okay. And do you remember these guys? They are Canadian. They lived in Toronto. Very, very, very wealthy. They were. There is a massive company in Canada called Apotex, and they were the owners. They would create, manufacture generic drugs. So, a drug, once it comes out, it has a patent for so long, and then others are able to pick up on that and create a generic of that drug. So they produce generic drugs. Now, I don't necessarily know if this is so or not, because I also know they were deeply involved in the Clinton Foundation and what went on in Haiti. They were sending expired drugs to Haiti and taking tax breaks for it, when really those drugs should have been destroyed. Anyway, billionaire pharmaceutical company founder Barry and his wife Honey Sherman were murdered in their Toronto home on December 15th, 2017. They owned Apotex, a manufacturer of generic drugs, specifically hydroxychloroquine. They manufactured the drug, and yes, indeed they did. In fact, it was Apotex that I took when I went to the rainforest or the jungle, whatever you want to call it. So it is an anti-malaria drug, and it's been known to help this. But I think that's a bit of a stretch, that saying that they killed them because Apotex had a generic of hydroxychloroquine. So I think that's a bit of a stretch, because they were also involved with the Clinton Foundation. They were sending expired drugs. That's the information I had over there, and would get a tax break because they would say, oh, we donated this much money worth of drugs to Haiti, when really they were all expired and should have been destroyed. They should have just dug a big hole and thrown them in. But hey. All right. Now, I'm going to skip that for now, and I can't remember what this is. So let's go take a look, because we can. Oh, yes. Okay, this is good. Now, I'm just going to let this play through, and I'm going to enlarge it so that you can read it here. So, because it's good. All right. Was interesting because that is what they're looking for, and they're using these super quantum computers to search, because they know that in order to beat this virus, they have to find a compound that that binds to those protein receptors, and the little spikes that stick out of the virus that have that's why they call it corona, because it looks like a crown, and they need to find drugs that will do that. So they're using what would normally take months. They've gotten down to days, and they have found 77 compounds that are likely to have a positive effect on this virus. So that's good news. And, I really think that they should be allowing some of these compounds to be used, because if people are going to die, what difference does it make if they take a drug, that's already has FDA approval? And see, this is what they're trying. They're trying to get drugs that already have FDA approval that might be effective, because to develop a drug from scratch and go through all the tests takes years. We don't have years. So this is very, very wise way of handling it. However, I really do believe that they need to allow people that, really are in a position where they're going to die anyway. They need to be able to allow them to make that decision. Yes, I'll take anything. I'll take anything that you think might be helpful. That's the way I would be anyway, especially with hydroxychloroquine, because it's been used forever to treat malaria. So, I mean, come on. It's a safe drug. It's already got FDA approval. It's good to go. Why can't doctors prescribe it? And they are in some cases, and people are getting better. But, of course, you've got some of these governors that don't have a medical degree saying, no, you can't use this. It's against the law. We're banning it. Why? What possible reason would there be? Seriously. Don't know. Okay. Let's come back here. And, and this is interesting as well from NPR. It's saying, mystery in Wuhan, recovered CV patients test negative, then positive. Now, I've seen these stories since way in the beginning of this virus, saying that people that they think are cured and they send from the hospital and they've tested negative are coming back, sometimes a week later, sometimes just days later, and they're positive again. So this is not just anecdotal evidence. This is, a fact. They're finding that in other places as well. So let me see here. It says a spate of mysterious second-time infections is calling into question the accuracy of COVID-19 diagnostic tools, even as China prepares to lift quarantine measures to allow residents to leave the epicenter of its outbreak next month. It's also raising concerns of a possible second wave of cases. From March 18 to 22, the Chinese city of Wuhan reported no new cases. Through domestic transmission, that is, infection passed on from one person to another. The achievement was seen as a turning point in the efforts to contain the virus, which has infected more than 80,000 people in China. Wuhan was particularly hard hit, with more than half of all confirmed cases in the country. But some Wuhan residents who had tested positive earlier and then recovered from the disease are testing positive for the virus a second time. Based on data from several quarantine facilities in the city, which house patients for further observation after their discharge from hospital, about 5 to 10% of patients pronounced recovered have tested positive again. Now, I'm not going to go through all this, but I wanted you to be aware of this because some people in the United States are saying, no, that's not right. It is right. It is right. And they've been reporting that way back in the beginning, that people that they thought were cured were walking out and then getting it again. So, yeah, it's a fact. I think, personally. That's my personal opinion. All right. There's been too many cases of them saying the same things, in other places, in other countries. So I do believe this. All right. And I'm not someone that just believes things willy-nilly. I love that word, willy-nilly. All right, now this, Bob Dylan, now this is a little bit of old news now, but Bob Dylan releases original song for the first time in 8 years. It's a song about the murder of JFK. It's 17 minutes long. Do you believe in coincidences? Not those kind of coincidences. No, I don't. Timing is everything. Absolutely it is. And this from Dark to Light. Did you know Donald Trump appointed John Voight and Mike Huckabee to the board of trustees at the Kennedy Center for Arts? Now we can be sure all those millions of dollars Democrats pushed into the CV relief bill for the Kennedy Center is not pocketed. Oh, he's a smart man, Trump. He's a very, very smart man. And this from Entertainment Tonight Canada. Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and Archie have a new place to call home. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle make the move to LA, so they are gone from Canada. Thank you very much. So they've moved to Los Angeles, where I'm sure they'll be safer. Just before the borders were closed due to CV. Now, you want something weird? This is off the scale in weirdness. Francis, that's Pope Francis. I'm sorry, I have so many Pope jokes, and I'm really forcing myself to not tell them because they're funny. But anyway, let me go on now. Pope Francis predicts he won't be Pope for long. Why, you ask? Why? Because he misses pizza. What? I miss pizza too, but not that kind of pizza, but like the kind you get from an Italian restaurant pizza. Yeah, that's the kind of pizza I like. Yeah, you don't kind of quit something. You don't quit being a pope because you miss pizza. Like, seriously. Could you imagine if, like, a president of a country, let's say President Trump, stood up and said, well, guys, you know what? I'm resigning as your president. I'm just going to step down and, Mike Pence will take over here. Why? Why, you ask? Well, I miss hamburgers. So I'm stepping down. This is just really the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. Just about. And I've heard a pack of ridiculous things. So the Pope, the head of the Catholic Church worldwide, the Pope, says he's not going to be Pope long because he misses pizza. Okay. I'm just going to leave that there. And let's look at this. Unhinged actor Michael Rapaport, whoever that is, goes after Baron Trump in unthinkably evil tirade. Rapaport can attack Trump as much as he wants. The president can handle it, but going after his children crosses the line. Yeah. He's only 14 years old. Give me a break. Earlier this week, we reported that actor Michael Rapaport had blasted First Lady Melania Trump as a dumb animal. Now he's going after her 13-year-old. No, he's 14 years old. Dang it, people, get it right. Baron Trump calling for the young boy to be exposed to CV. Rapaport posted a video to social media on Wednesday night in which he told President Donald Trump to encourage his children, including Barron, to break quarantine and expose themselves to CV by leaving their homes. The profanity-laced video was posted in response to Trump saying that the media wanted him to keep the country shut down as long as possible to lower his chances of being reelected. Now, which, there's truth to that. Effing a pig. The real people want to get back to work ASAP. You never worked a day in your life. Oh, gee. Yeah, he became a billionaire by sitting on his butt. That's right. Rapaport said, you're worried about the next 4 years. You need to be worried about the next 4 days, mother effer. You need to be worried about the next 4 weeks, the next 4 months, you mother effer. You are the worst possible mother effer in power we could have making decisions right now. Rapaport then demanded that Trump force his own children out of isolation before the rest of the nation so that they would be exposed to CV. Why don't you send your effing son, Dick Stain, Donald Trump Jr., big-toothed Eric Trump, little effing Barron, effing Ivana, junkyard Jared, let them go out there and test the effing waters, he said. Let them see if shite is sweet. Let them take the cars, the trains, the buses, the Amtrak. Let them play in the park. And if everything's good after 5 days of them playing in the streets, we'll all go back to work. Okay. He's a nice guy. Someone you'd love to have over for tea and crumpets. No? No. Rapaport ended his deranged rant by talking about the shame Americans will feel if they reelect Trump. You want to make the American people guinea pigs so you can get reelected, you effing clown, he said. And people, if you fall for this shite, blame on you. Shame on you, rather. The guy doesn't give a F about anyone but himself. Yeah, that's why he's working for free. Right? Because he doesn't care about anybody else. Yeah, he's donates all his salary to the government. He works for nothing. That's it. Nothing. Nada. Zilch. Zip. None. But you're right. Yeah, he only cares about himself. Despicable. All right, and we've already talked about he's called up over 1 million reserve troops for this CV. Now, let's, I'm not going to be able to get to all this, so let's look at this. Why is it called Service Employees International Union? SEIU union in California suddenly finds mysterious stash of 39 million, that's right, 39 million face masks. 3 days after AG Bill Barr announces they're going after hoarders. Isn't that interesting? I think it's fascinating. So, SEIU union in California suddenly finds mysterious stash. So President Trump lead another CV task force briefing from the White House on Monday evening. The president was joined by Vice President Pence. All right, and look at this. Poor excuse for a leader. New Orleans mayor blaming Trump. Yes, it's Trump's fault that she can't lead. Right, it's always Trump's fault. Trump's responsible for her failures. Don't you know? Blaming Trump after she allowed Mardi Gras during a global pandemic. Now, most people with a brain, or at least 2 neurons to rub together, would know better, but not her, because she wanted the money, because it brings in big money to New Orleans. It's the biggest event of the year, Mardi Gras. And she allowed it, but now she's blaming Trump. It's his fault. Right. Okay. So New Orleans mayor on CV, Trump admin, should have warned. Yeah, it's Trump's fault. That's right. There's a global pandemic that she knew about, but she still says, I think it's a great idea to allow everybody to come in here and party together. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Let's do it. No, sorry, chick. It's on you. It's on you. All right. See, stuff like that makes me so angry because people need to be responsible for their own failures and shortcomings. We all have to be, don't we? But they're always blaming it on Trump. Everything's Trump's fault. Okay. And I can't remember what this is, but hopefully it's good. Oh, yes, yes, yes. We have to see this. Cuomo just got caught hiding ventilators, then blaming President Trump and acting like he's not getting what he needs, just like Puerto Rico. So he was doing really well, but I think the Democrats might have gotten to him. But anyway, let's listen to this because we can.
Storage facility. Something that the president is claiming that there were ventilators found that they need to be distributed. Is there any truth to that?
That is incorrect and grossly uninformed. The point is, we have ventilators in a stockpile, and we didn't send them to the hospitals yet. Of course we didn't. That's the whole point. The hospitals don't need them yet. The hospitals aren't at their apex. The hospitals have enough ventilators today, but the numbers are going up. We're planning for an apex, a high point in about 21 days. That's when we need the 30,000 ventilators, not today. Right now, we're putting them in a stockpile. So the point is, well, they're in a stockpile, you must not need them. It's just ignorant. Of course you don't need them today. You need them when you hit the apex, which is 30,000. We're not there yet.
All right, whatever you say, Cuomo, whatever you say. I was gaining some respect for you. I was. But that's in the past now. So anyway, let's go back, and I want to make sure that we've covered what we have to cover. There's a couple more here. I don't think we need to cover this. We already know that he has called up 1 million troops, and let's look at this real quick. See if this is something we can look at quick. No, it isn't. So I'm going to have to revisit that on another occasion, which could be tomorrow. You just don't know. And this is the last one. So let's look at this, see if this is something we can cover. Oh, yes, yes, yes. You have to see this. You have to. Let's look at Trump here. Let me make this bigger. And okay. Watch what he does with his hand. He makes a Q. He's giving out signals every day, it seems. So let's look at this. Now, definitely a cue. Absolutely. So I wanted you to see that. And with that, that ends tonight's video. Anyway, I will be back tomorrow. No more videos for tonight. It's been a rough day for me. So anyway, there'll be no more videos tonight. My gosh, what's happened to my hair? See, this is what happens when there's no hairdressers working, no salons open. I mean, my hair is like in such need, but oh well. It is what it is. You didn't come here to look at my hair anyway, did you? Because if you did, there's something wrong with you. Really, get help. All right, and I need to thank some people because they're worthy of being thanked. All right, and up here, coffee donors, Liz, thank you very much. Kim, Carolyn S. Rose, and Ms. Ragdoll, and thank you, Ms. Ragdoll. I appreciate that generous gift, and that will go towards Xander. So thank you so much. And also, I got snail mail today, and it was from Solange Sior, and she's a longtime listener. And actually, she sent me some stuff that I'm taking right now that is helping me enormously. So anyway, thank you, Solange. That was very, very kind of you. And I appreciate it very, very much. So thank you guys. You are the awesomest. Really, you are. So maybe on the next video, if you want me to, at the end, I'll tell you a few bad jokes. Now, they're not bad as in, as in risque. They're just bad. They're like dad jokes, except they're Mishel jokes, which are even worse. All right. Anyway, okay, that's it, guys. I hope you are well. I hope you stay safe. Please, please stay safe, stay well, stay blessed, and keep seeking the truth. Good night, guys. See you tomorrow.